Hi, this is Alex from the Blue Team, and with me today is my teammate Kevin.
That's me.
And Natalia.
Hello.
And we are going to show you today our Google Drive, the final, basically our final project for it right here. So during the video, you'll see down in this bottom left corner, various times text will pop up, and what that is going to be for is for us to actually show you what item in the rubric we're talking about right now, and whether it's a completed task or a task that we only partially completed. The first thing that we're starting off is with our data model, and as you can see here we have everything from one to many's, many to many's, instructors and projects. You could have multiple, obviously, people teaching, so we have a nice week table right here. Also, multiple students could be in multiple different projects. For the duration of our project, we decided that the entity of project that you'll see throughout, we decided to define that as a class like IT 440. And then also topic, we decided to define as a specific task. So something like the Google Docs sprint would be considered a topic within the IT 440 project. So right here, this student project week table is basically showing you enrollment, who is in that class. And again, you have other relationships about how students can create evaluations. And from there, we're going to go to our Google Doc to show you some information here. The first thing I want to show you is that we have evaluator and evaluatee IDs. So right here, these are all different evaluators, or different evaluations rather, and we see that there's a really long formula up here that basically finds the various locations that the evaluator could put in their tech ID, and it looks them up in our table and gives us their unique ID right here. And the same thing happens with evaluatee. And also, we'll dive into these tables a little bit more later, but I just wanted to show you, just proving that we have tables for evaluators and evaluatees. Again, we'll dive into these more later on, but here's an evaluatee pivot table, here's an evaluator pivot table, and there's more as well. So one of the crucial parts that I'd like to show you right here is our form. So we'll go over to here, and we start out asking you which project or class this is for. So we have right here the IT 440, 450, and 214 class. So if you select a specific one, it'll actually bring you to a different page to show you which topic you would like. So right here for the IT 440, we have FileMaker Pro and Google Doc are the options. And I'll go back and choose a different one just to show you that they are in fact different. For the 214 class, we just have the Maze Java program. And if you go into a specific class and you go into that topic, you will see that there are a myriad of questions that are asked along with speaker name. And this does in fact change based off of which class you're looking at. So right here we see all these names, a lot of different names. We'll go back to that 214 class again, and there should only be a few people. Going back, we choose 214, Maze topic, and for speaker we only have 2 people. Another thing is that on each of our pages we actually have a little bit of help text right here. This basically explains what's going on, so it's asking you to enter your tech ID for this evaluator tech ID field, and that it's letting you know that each of these scale questions right here, 1 equals poor and 5 equals excellent. And that additional comments are optional. Again, it's just that help text to help whoever is filling in the form understand what is going on. So what I'll do right now is we'll fill out this one. So we go and put in the tech ID of me, since I am the evaluator. We're going to evaluate that person, and we'll fill in the questions that we have here, saying that they did a really good job, high marks. And here we'll put comment for program author, and then below we'll put comment for teacher. And this comment right here, when we send the summary email, will not actually be sent to that person, but this one right here will. So we'll submit this, and then it says, thank you, you can fill in another one. So if you're doing a class and say they're doing presentations instead of the Java programs, you can submit the next one for the next person that's speaking. And if we go in our form responses right here, this is the row that we just filled in. And I'll zoom out a little bit since it is pretty busy what's going on. So this is the one that we just filled in. We'll go over, and which project is this? That's right there, the maze one. Those are the numbers we chose. Here's those comments. The person that actually filled it in, this is their tech ID, and again with the person that was being evaluated is right there. And now we'll go over to all the way to the right. We have some summary tabs going on, or summary columns rather. So one of them right here is the evaluator ID and the evaluatee ID. This is taking those values from over there and again using a rather large formula, basically looking them up and finding their ID based off of their tech ID, or in this case based off of their name. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the evaluatee evaluation pivot table. And right here we have our rather large pivot table. I'll zoom out just to show you a little bit more of what's going on. So we have each of our topics right here, and then within that, these are the actual students. The reason why you're seeing these div 0 errors is we wanted to show averages, and if that question isn't actually meant for a certain topic, you will get a divide by 0 error. So for end of semester, this question of body language does not apply. So if we go over to the right here, we'll eventually get to the questions that are meant for that topic. And so you see right here, these are now numerical, where the other ones are divide by 0 error, is because, again, that question is meant for a specific topic. And as you can see from the top right here, it says form responses. This is where it's actually getting the data. And what this is basically saying right here, this 1:1030, is that it is going to grab everything from the form responses table. So that shows that as people do more evaluations, this pivot table will get bigger. Say as a new person in the end of semester presentation, say the student with the ID of 5 suddenly gets evaluated, they'll pop up right here. These numbers will be changing as more evaluations come in. And another one here we have is the total for that topic. This is to help compare, say, a specific student's average to the average of the class. And the next one that we're going to show you is kind of the same thing, but it's for the evaluators. Right here we have, actually I'll show you a different one first, which is a little bit more similar. Right here, just a little bit different order, since it made more sense, is having the evaluator first and then the topic that they're in. And again, you see the div zeros for the exact same reason that this question doesn't actually apply to that topic. This question applies to the FileMaker or Google Doc questions. And you have the same thing basically. These are the averages for what they gave, and here's the total. So you see that number 2 on average for FileMaker Pro Sprint, they gave body language of about 3.75 to their respective students, but the average for what 2 normally does for that question is 3.71. So again, you see just more of those summarizing. Right here showing the class average of what people gave for body language. So that's how you can compare what each evaluator, kind of what their preference is. Are they doing above the average, below the average, that kind of stuff. And that pivot table that I kind of shied away from at first, it's showing you the same info. Here's their tech ID instead now. And the part that I really wanted to highlight right here is we have the averages again, and we also have standard deviations. The reason why you're seeing some of these as -1 is that is what we're using as a value right here for if there are no values. Instead of giving just an error that says error or something, this is a little bit more understandable for us. And then this notification column is going to be used, maybe the instructor can come back and see that a specific student has a larger than average standard deviation. If you see up in our formula bar, we're using 1 right now as our determinant if they are above, if they have a larger than average standard deviation. And next I will show you our templates for our emails that we would be sending out. This first one right here is for the evaluatee. When the topic were to be over, this is what they would see when we run our final script. So we have right here dear, and then we'd fill in the student name. That's what these angles are meant for, is that they're basically variables that would be filled in. Just like right here, we would have topic name change based on whichever topic that we're doing. And right here we'd show each of the questions and their average. So for example, you'd have body language, you'd have organization, content knowledge, however many questions there are, you would see those right there. And then at the end here, you would have the total overall average. So right here would basically be the average of those averages, with a little thank you right at the end. While we did not implement this email type, we do have the one for the instructor as well. So right here, it's a little bit of the same setup. We have the dear professor, here are the emails, and what we were going to do then is show each email that we would send to a student and concatenate them all together. That also allows them to see kind of what are the overall averages for each student, so they can fill them in their gradebook. They can see the comments that were left for them, and also they can see if there are students that are missing evaluations. Had we had more time, we would fill in this list with those student names that were missing. Also, if any students didn't actually do evaluations, if they just decided not to evaluate any of their classmates, they would show up in a list right here. And then, as we said before, we had that flag. We would show those students here with potentially some more details to help explain what their standard deviation is and things like that. Again, with another thank you for using our service. Another thing that I would like to show you is our script. This is the script that actually sends our summary email. I'll go through it kind of high level, just since there's a lot going on in here. So at first, we're going to find all the student IDs for whichever topic we've chosen to send the emails out for, whether it's the Google Doc one, the FileMaker, the end of the semester presentation, anything you can think of that we have topics for. This will grab the students that are taking that class. And then we're going to go through each student, and first we're going to open up various sheets, the pivot table, the first one that I showed you, getting, say, the whole table, getting the headers, and then through a couple for loops and if statements, we're going to basically get all of the cells that don't have that divide by zero error, because as you remember, the divide by zeros are for other topics, not the topic that we would be looking for. And then this next section goes and finds the comments that were left for that person, and those would again be all captured so we could email it. And that's what this last spot is doing, where it is grabbing various bits of text and filling in those variables that we talked about earlier, adding new lines and tabs where necessary, and right here showing, this is the spot where the question would be present, and then showing their average would be right here. And again, you have your overall average and the comments that are left to them. And right here is where it sends the email. This is using the email of whoever is running the script. So if I were to run it, it would run from my Gmail account, but if one of the other people in our group were to actually run it, it'll use that person's email account. And then right at the end here, it grabs the timestamp for the email and goes and adds it to the email time sheet that we have right here. So it'll give you kind of that primary key for it, just incrementing so you have a different one for each one. Getting the student ID of whoever the email was sent to, again their email, the subject, and also a timestamp. So I'll show you right here that it's actually running. We'll run the one for the Google Doc emails. So we just click that and we choose the run button. It runs the function, and it does take a little while since it is grabbing it for each student. And again, it's also grabbing that timestamp. I'll show you the timestamp right now. We see that these two are new with the new time that matches the system time right now. And if we go to the email we have right here, we see that email that the evaluatee would receive. So for example, this is for me and I received it for the Google Docs sprint. Here's each of the questions along with the average for each of those on what I received. And here are the comments. We had just put in some placeholder text just to show that they would be there, and then our thank you. The last part that I wanted to show you is one of our topics that, or a couple of our rubric items that we had partially gotten completed. There were lines for adding, updating, and deleting projects, topics, and students. So what I'm showing you right here is a form that we had developed in order to do that. So what we have right here is what are you altering, and you can choose kind of what you would like. Enrollment is that week table between students and projects. And then for each one we'll have various commands that you can do, for example, add and delete for enrollment. And then you would choose from the available students and which project you either want to add them from or delete them from. And again, you could do the same thing with add, update, delete of actual students. And again, we hadn't actually implemented this, so that's why I'm not showing you us going through the form and it actually changing later projects, but we did have part of this built out. And our goal was to take this form, take the results that we would get, and then have a script running. This is roughly the pseudocode what we would have that we started working on. This is mostly just showing you if we were to do some sort of alteration to student. So if it was an add that you would do, if you wanted to add a new student, we'd add those rows into our students table. We had talked about having a certain status attribute that we would add that you could then use for, say, deleting. If you wanted to keep that information, you would just change the status to 0, where 1 being active and 0 being inactive. And you could do the same thing again with enrollment. So that is our Google Doc final project. I hope you had as fun of a time listening to it as we did creating it, and we'll see you next time. Bye.